Right, I think we're live. Hello, everybody. Just waiting for the timer to come up in the corner. There we are. Okay, this will be part 2 of showing my DVD collection and telling you what films are good. Not so much what films are not good, because I don't really have many of those. Oh boy. Oh, and yeah, there's. Oh, hello, just Jenna, and to show up. I tried to give people advance notice, but when I went to make a video, a 30-second video on my camcorder over here, to say in half an hour there's going to be a live stream, battery was dead, so it's on charge now. So I just had to go straight into the live stream. So here we are. What I'll do a review, and I've got my videos stacked up here. I've got some more down there. Still got loads on the shelves, so we'll get through a load. And if you want to make any notes, by all means, you've got a few moments so you get some paper, get a pen, because you might want to write these down, any good ones. And of course, then you've got the option to look. I don't know how Netflix works, but you probably better watch it on Netflix or or order it on CEX, where I buy most of mine. What's that? So just Jenna's in the house. Lisa Lovely, hello to you. Mark Mullet, yep, we're drinking out of the pot noodle cup. You want the vodka? No, not at the moment. But once I get through this water, perhaps I'll switch onto the vodka. Super 23, where is Old Boggy? Well, that's the thing, yeah, I'll bring back Old Boggy after a while, but possibly, but this is specifically for a DVD reviewing. Anyway, but yeah, Old Boggy, he's still about. And Tesco Value Vodka, yeah, that's right. When I was young, I used to drink Smirnoff because I didn't really know any better, But now I find, for the results that you get from it, I buy shop brand, mostly Co-op. This one's Tesco. Asda do their own version. I don't know what that's like. Let's see. Get on the body. Why not? Yeah, once I get through the water, then But yeah, pound for pound. Anyway, okay, shall we get straight to it? And like I say, I pick up most of these from. Picking them up for the last few years. I go into CEX and go through their 50p racks, and sometimes I'll pay a pound or two if I really want a film. But a lot of these are cheap. Some of them are so, like this one, I paid £7 for this one, but that was years and years ago. That was from HMV, I think. Yeah, they've gone out of business because they charge too much money. Okay. Actually, before I get, has anybody seen The Road with Viggo Mortensen, him from Lord of the Rings? I just got through watching it on YouTube, and I've seen it a long time ago. But there's something I noticed, but I don't know. The thing is, I don't have the DVD in order to watch the making of to try and find the answer. I was wondering if anybody's seen it or, might be able to answer a question. But okay, all right. There we go. We're a little over 4 minutes in, and let's go for the first one. Charlton Heston in The Omega Man. Now, this is, I believe, loosely based on The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, and Will Smith's version loosely based on this and the Vincent Price movie. Now, this is very good. It starts off. What is it? He seemed for whatever we're not exactly privy to the reason right at the very beginning. It's sort of one of those. It jumps. and then we learn the reasons why the world's gone to hell through the movie. Charlton Heston here seems to be the last man, and he's on his own. He's basically got the run of the city. He's gone a bit mad because of the isolation, and he's starting to hear voices, hear phone ringings, and all this stuff because he's gone a bit been solitary for a long time. There's been some kind of virus that's hit the earth. Most people have died. Functioning zombies, I suppose you might call them. They're not vampires. They're just they want to kill anybody who's not with them. So he's going around. By day, he goes around and he's searching all the buildings, looking for them. Feeds to his penthouse. He's got the whole thing barricaded off, and they're trying to attack him through the night. Yeah, he's a scientist, so he's trying to find the cure for the disease. And but yeah, he's running into all kinds of mental problems because he's isolation, until he meets a group of people. And yeah, I'm probably not selling that all that well, but all in all, it's not a bad flick. I mean, it's more thought-provoking than action-packed. There's action, there's a bit of gunfire, bit of suspense where basically these creatures here, human creatures, they stay in the dark. So basically, come nightfall, you've got to be indoors, otherwise there's hundreds of them all around your house. Human than the Will Smith, all this lot. Yeah, and their job is to get him and kill him. I am the Omega Man. There you go. Let's see, right. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to sort of try and pick one at random. What's this? Dusk Till Dawn 3. Now, I haven't watched this in a lot of years. I mean, pretty much. I think this is a prequel to Dusk Till Dawn, if memory serves. I think it's set in the Western times. So it's set very similar to Dusk Till Dawn, but it's set 100 plus years before then. But you've still got the biker bar. You've still got the vampires, only instead of you got Western type weapons, basically 6-shooters. So, and it basically the same sort of thing, but in a cowboy setting. Plenty of vampires, thrills and spills, trying to fight for their life to get out of there in one piece. Yeah, okay, that's oh, and you've got one familiar face. You've got him in the middle there. It's important that he played the sheriff in the first one. Dr. Michael Parks. There you go. Of course, in Hateful Eight, his son plays the coach driver in the Tarantino. So there you go. So yeah, he pops up in most of Tarantino's films. Okay, that's we're going here. Orange County. This is a Jack Black movie. This guy here is Tom Hanks' son. There you go. In real life, these two are playing brothers. This one he's going places. He's sort of taking advantage of an education. Jack Black is a stoner. He's a bit of a waster. And the younger brother here, I believe he's a younger brother. He finds a book on the beach. He goes on a trip to find the author because the book really sort of had a message for him by reading the book. His brother goes along with him. They all comedy. Lots of comedy ensues. What's his name? Ramit. I'm trying to think. Was his name Ramis? I can't see it on the back here, but yeah, the guy that plays Egon in the Ghostbusters, he's in it as well. Yeah, there's not a lot to say, you know. I mean, the usual fool. It's just Jack Black, funny stuff, you know. It's just what we got here. Ah, now the game. Let's see. See if there's anything going on. I Am Legend Battle Royal. Robert Marshall says that film has bad reviews. I don't know which movie he's. Are you talking about I Am Legend? Dusk Till Dawn 1 is the only good one. Yeah, I would agree with that. Mm. Anyway, the game. Now, this is one of those I would suggest if you want a really good story, a few thrills and spills, bit of action, bit of mystery. This is the one. Now, the basic idea is Michael Douglas and Sean Penn over here. They're two brothers. They're totally, different than each other. One of them is a stock market, not genius, but I mean, he works in the stock market. He's got loads of money. Lives in a big family home. His brother Sean Penn, he's sort of like, he's a bit of a wanderer. He goes around, he's wandering around the world, doing his own thing. He doesn't want to be, do the same kind of work as his brother. His brother shows up and talks about getting hold of this company who will give you an adventure, make your boring life more adventurous. So after a while, Michael Douglas goes for it. The company, put him through all kinds of questionnaires and physical tests and all that lot. And oh, Chris, the thing is, they turn him down. So he's thinking that he's not going to be involved with the game, because it's a special game that they make thrills for rich people, The thing is, they turn him down, but the trouble is, the game has actually begun. They start to tap his phones, mess around with his television, so they can send messages through the television to him. And of course, nobody else can see this because it's all. Imagine if the man on the news suddenly starts talking to you. It's because they've chopped all the footage together to make a conversation. Sounds a bit wacky, but yeah, I mean, he starts to realize that this company are messing with him, even though he doesn't want them to. He didn't sign up for the game, and it becomes apparent that they're trying to clean out their bank account. It's all a big swizz. They do these things to try and steal these rich people's money, and yeah, I'll tell you, Sean Penn is excellent. Michael Douglas is excellent. Well, all the characters are very good. He's put into all situations where he's in a taxi driver will jump out, and then the car will careen into the river, and things like this. And then he's got to sort of like get out of all kinds of death-defying situations. And it's one of those movies that was very rare that you actually don't know what is going on until pretty much the last 5 minutes of the movie. It keeps you going, mystery all the way through, and at the end of it, literally the last 5 minutes, you think, "My God, yeah, that makes sense now." So it kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat all the way through. Very good film, The Game. All right. Batesy Boyo, yeah, The Game is a great film. You're never actually sure what's real and what's not, what isn't. Exactly, because I mean, he goes in first, he gets some death-defying situations, like I say, with a taxi, and he's he's drugged, put into a box, and shipped off to Mexico with no money in his pocket. When he comes home, his house has been foreclosed by the bank. His bank accounts are all empty. He's got nothing. And but yeah, it's you wait till the end and it all becomes apparent. Okay, what we got here? Made in Britain. There we go. This is Tim Roth, him on the front there, which is not a very good photo. So we'll show you the one on the back there. He's in the middle. Would be early 80s. Yeah, I can't see a date on it. It's got to be early 80s. If anybody remembers The Bill, the TV show, one of the police officers plays in that. He's the counselor. He's the one with the nose. Um, Tim Roth, a very young Tim Roth here. He plays a 15 or 16-year-old. You know, he's too young to go into prison, but he's old enough to go into sort of halfway. I think he's at the age where he's too young to go into prison, but just old enough to go into Borstal. But for some reason, the councillors want to keep him out, give him a chance. They think he's worth it, you know. But what he does, as soon as nobody's looking, he's one of these. He'll go round and put some bricks through the window. He'll steal cars. He'll, you know, he's at one point he's sniffing a big bag of glue. And but yeah, he's in the youth hostel. He doesn't like black people or Pakistanis or anybody other than whites, but he teams up with a young black guy, young black kid, gets him into the kind of trouble that he's getting himself into, but he's doing it with the intention of basically fucking him over at some point, you know, basically stitching him up, leaving him in the shit with the police. That's the only reason why he's, you know, hanging around with him, because he doesn't like the guy at all. And yeah, he's got a problem with authority, you know, basically law and order. The filmmaker, Alan Clark, was responsible for the film Scum, which I've got down here somewhere. Trevor is a teenage skinhead caught smashing the windows of a Pakistani-owned shop. Windows of a Pakistani-owned shop. Well, actually, that's not strictly true. It's a Pakistani-owned house. He is sent to an assessment center by the social worker, Harry, played by Eric Richards. Pick up your... Let's see. I think that's the guy from The Bill. Where he is discovered, he is highly articulate and intelligent, but when he escapes, steals cars, and goes berserk, can Harry still save him? Well, the thing is, I mean, the guy is just a Looney Tune. Not a Looney Tune. He's just he's a career criminal. He's going nowhere. He's 15 years old and he's already up to his ears in you know, criminal record, which is made apparent at the very end when he gets collared for smashing up you know, some guy's window, throwing bricks through the window and smashing a car. Goes into the police station. He's mouthing off to the policeman, you know, saying, "Well, look, you can't do anything to me. I'm too young." But he gets a rude awakening. He gets informed roughly that you know, the minute you're 18, we're going to match your prints with every unsolved crime out there, and then you'll go into the big house. So that that and a whack with a baton sort of gets the message through. Yeah, worth a go, I think. I mean, when you look at it, it is very dated. When you look at it, if you're of a certain age that you remember the 80s, then you will immediately, yeah, you know, you recognize the clothing, the streets, the cars, the way people behave. It's very 80s. And yeah, worth a go, I think, that one. What we got here? Army of Darkness. Yes. Evil Dead 3, Army of Darkness. Now, of course, you've got Army of Darkness. I've got them in here somewhere. I don't know whether in this heap or... I tell you, I don't know what's up with me today. I've got some kind of heartburn or something. Anyway, Evil Dead 3, Army of Darkness. This is the one at the end of number 2 when he gets sucked into the time portal along with his car and a tree and all the rest of it. Then he lands in prehistoric, Knights in Shining Armor times. I guess he's gone back in time. Anyway, there's yeah, he lands there. He's still got his chainsaw, of course, because he lost his hand in the first movie. Very good. He's fighting the Army of Darkness. All the demons and the skeletons have been resurrected because he mistakenly messed up the secret chant. So instead of supposed to happen. He ends up waking up the dead. There's hundreds of thousands of them. They're all storming the castle, and he's the only one who's got future knowledge, because because his car came with him, and it's got a book. Luckily, it's got a load of books in his boot that about engineering and metalwork. So he's able to make himself a new hand. He's got the knowledge about explosives because of these books. They happen to be in his boot of a car. Very funny. You got the little guys here. There's a lot of little clones of him. They start attacking him, trying to murder him. This particular one is a double disc. So I've got disc 1, the US theatrical version. It's got the original ending, theatrical trailer, behind the scenes. There's narration by Bruce Campbell. And then on the second disc is the director's cut, which happens to have 15 minutes of additional footage, which is a long time. 4 never before seen deleted scenes. Very funny. The whole series is good. They did make Evil Dead, which was a brand new one. It was like a remake of the original, I believe. That was more of a horror. I didn't really watch a whole lot of that. That had that was more of a horror one rather than an action horror comedy. Okay, what we got here? Oh, Evil Dead 2. Now this one was, in my book, now this is the second one out of the 3. This one was more scary, I think, than definitely the third one was more slapstick action comedy. He's managed to get one of the demons in the basement, and it's the one where they're lifting up the lid of the basement and talking through there you go, that top one, the latest movie that was a few years back. But yeah, there's it's a little bit more horror, this one, but very good. Bruce Campbell, of course, he's a really good character. Plays Ash. Cabin in the usual schlock. People go to the cabin in the woods for a bit of a break. They accidentally summon up the evil spirits, like you do, and all action and comedy ensue. There you go. 18 certificate out of the bunch. Now I like this one, Paradise Alley, with I'm trying to get this, and the bloody light doesn't reflect on it. There you go. Paradise Alley with Sylvester Stallone. I think he actually wrote this and possibly directed. Written and directed by Sylvester Stallone. Music by Bill Conti. Yeah. Now, funny enough, he's in the movie. He's got 2 brothers. Before I tell you about it, he's got 2 brothers in the movie. One of them I've not seen before. The big guy that carries the ice around, ice chunks, and his other brother played his brother. It might be his brother or his clone in Stallone's version of Judge Dredd. He's the one that gets the robot out of the hawk shop, the pawn shop, where it's been pawned off for money at some point. Anyway, but this one, it's set in, I would say, there you go. It's set in 1946. He's basically Stallone. He's 1946. It's sort of like living in the slums. Him and his 2 brothers. His brother works for a ice company, And basically, this is before people had refrigerators. You'd have a cart come by. The guy, you would buy chunks of ice to keep your food sort of, chilled. So basically, a bit like what they used to do with the coal men years ago. You buy some coal every week, every month, or whatever. This one, his brother works for a coal. I mean, so he's a big guy, right? He's big, musty guy. He's carrying huge blocks of ice up flights of stairs in order to sell them to the residents for their ice boxes. That's the brother. His other brother, I believe, was in the army at some point, so he's got himself pretty much well together. His life's sorted pretty much, although they're all living in the slums. Stallone here, he's sort of a bit of a chancer. He'll do pretty much anything to make a dollar. Like he acquires a monkey. I think he buys a monkey, or he wins a monkey at a game of chance, I think, and then he uses the monkey to do the tap dancing while he's hustling for coins on the street corner. That guy, he's a bit of a hustler. Now, there's a street gang, a bit like low-level mobsters, and his henchmen. One of them is Terry Funk, who is used to be a real life wrestler. He's in it. There's a whole bunch of wrestlers. Anyway, Stallone talks to his big brother, the muscly brother with the ice, talks him into going in and being a wrestler, which is really dangerous work. If you're not careful, you can get hurt and mangled. Not like WWF, this is like the real thing. You could get really hurt, but it turns out he has a talent for it. But basically, he's using his brother to make money on the wrestling. Pretty much. I mean, his goal is to make as much money as they can. Secondary is the welfare of his brother. I mean, they're kind of a tight group of brothers, I guess. At least the ice carrying one and Stallone. But Stallone is definitely using his brother with little concern about about his welfare in the ring. There's a little bit of humor in there. Like he needs a name. He needs a wrestling name for his brother when he goes in a ring. So his name's the Salami Kid. So what he does, he gets a load of salami sausages, and drapes them around his neck because that's his name. He needs a catchy name. The Salami Kid. Anyway, very, quite a good movie. It would have been one of Stallone's early ones. Okay, what we got here? Ah, The Fisher King. No, I haven't watched this in a lot of them I haven't watched in a long time. Let me see. I'll quickly go into the comments here. Stones 918. What is your favorite genre? I would say dark humor. Weekend at Bernie's kind of thing. Ones where if there's a dead body, you've got to hide the dead body from other people for a week. That kind of. I like that because of dark humor. Andy Smith might bring back the virtual. Andy Smith wants the virtual quiz at some point. David Jones, Paradise Alley got Terry Funk in it. It does, yeah. He's one of the henchmen. David Jones is about wrestling. Well, yeah, part of the movie is about wrestling, but it's not a wrestling movie. It's about the relationship between the three brothers and how they're trying to struggle, basically, to get through life, and they find a way to make some money, where the wrestling comes in. The Fisher King. Now, this is it's got Jeff Bridges. It's got Robin Williams. Jeff Bridges here plays a radio DJ, and Robin Williams plays a tramp. And the basic idea is Jeff Bridges. He's a shock jock, radio DJ. And he's doing his usual thing on his radio channel, being abusive to the callers, and some guy rings up, alludes that he's going to kill himself. Jeff Bridges says, well, basically talks him into doing it. Basically, go ahead, who cares? Nobody's going to miss you. Just go do it. Turns out the guy does do it. Now, and then immediately, of course, the press turn on him. He loses his job. He's vilified for talking a suicidal man into committing suicide. So his life has gone to shit. He's lost his job. He loses all his money. He loses his place. And now he's living on the street. And that's where he meets up with Robin Williams and all his little buddies. And, it's kind of, it's been a long time, but it seems to be that Jeff Bridges at one point wouldn't even notice these people because he's so rich and he lives in a big apartment and all that lot. But when he loses it all and he's living with these people and finding out what they're like, they're just human, apparently, just like everybody, becomes friends with them. And in fact, I might watch this again. And basically he's basically down in the gutter, but they befriend him. They don't look at him as somebody, they look at him as like a person, and they take him under the wing. And he gets to find out what how good life can be without all the trappings of being rich and famous. It's just having relationships with regular people. Quite a good film, so I might watch that again. But like I say, I watched it. What's this one? Repo Man. Yeah, Repo Men. Repo Men with Jude Law and Forrest Whitaker. Now, this is an interesting, not to be confused with Repo Man, which I have that down here somewhere with Emilio Estevez. This is Repo Men. The idea is it's in the future. I'm not sure exactly where in the future. It doesn't really say, but looking at the film, it's set in the future because of the technology they have. And basically, the idea is if you have an ailment, say you have a heart attack, you need a new heart, or you're in a car crash, you need a new spleen, or your kidneys are failed. What you do is you go to the company. They give you a replacement, or they do the surgery to give you a replacement heart or lung or liver or whatever it is your ailment requires. But the thing is, it costs a lot of money. So what these people do is they finance the thing. So we'll do the operation. We'll put you a brand new heart in. But the thing is, the £100,000 or dollars you owe us, and then you repay over a period of time, just like you would with a mortgage. You get given the house and then you pay for it over 25 years. Same sort of thing, only where the Repo Men come in, if you don't make the payments, unlike the Repo Man where they repossess your car, the Repo Men here, these two and a whole bunch of others, if you don't make the payments on this artificial heart that you have or other organ, they come in. They hit you with a stun gun, open you up there on your living room floor, and remove the heart of the organ. Put it in a box. They take it away, and then they can reuse it, repurpose it, sell it on to somebody else as a second-hand model. So so that's what it's like. And of course, you can imagine that people are not too thrilled at the idea of having their heart cut out of their chest, because they haven't made the payments. So you've got people who are on the run. You got people who are trying to put up a struggle, because they don't want to be opened up, and and then they take a commission on all the hardware that's been retrieved. And it's all going okay. It's going okay. That their job is to go and track people down who don't want to be tracked. They find them, open them up, remove their liver, kidney, spleen, or whatever artificial organ, which is all fine until he's doing a job. Jude Law, he's doing a job one time, trying to get the heart of some guy, and he gets himself electrocuted purely by accident. The machine that he's using it malfunctions. He gets shocked. His heart is fucked. Now he gets the same sales pitch he does from that guy Schreiber who played Wolverine. His name will be in here somewhere. Something Schreiber. Liev, Liev, Liev Schreiber. Yeah, so he ends up, fucking up his heart. He gets the usual spiel from Schreiber, his boss, about, yeah, don't worry. Hey, listen, we can sort it all out for you. We can do this, we can do that. We'll put you a brand new heart in. You just make a bunch of easy payment. And the thing is, he knows he's full of shit because he's heard this 1,000 times. He knows exactly what's going to, that he's heard the spiel 1,000 times. He knows what's going to happen if you don't make the payments. So basically, he's been treated like some schmuck who just walked in the door, desperate for a new organ, internal organ. So, but anyway, so yeah, he ends up not making the payment. So now he's on the run. He's being chased by Forrest Whitaker. He teams up with a woman who I think is the woman from I Am Legend, the one with the little kid. Yeah, so action, thrills and spills. It's good. Where so you got one guy, and it's one of those halfway through the story, the table gets turned on him. So instead of him being the hunter, he's the hunted. Good movie. Repo Men. All right. What's this? Men, you won't be able to see that from because the stickers on it, but Men Who Stare at Goats. There you go. You got George Clooney. You've got Jeff Bridges. You've got Ewan McGregor. You've got Kevin Spacey, and I don't know what the goat's name is. But the idea is the American Army. They're doing research into telepathic powers. Okay, they're trying to do things like influence people, influence people by the power of thought. What do they call that? I don't know, astro projection or something. Whereas if you concentrate, you can get your mind to travel several thousand miles and look into the Russian president's safe. Find out what secret bullshit he's got hiding in the safe. Things like that. That's the idea. That's what they're. I mean, it's not necessarily working, but that's what they're experimenting on. ESP, anything to do with thought, mind control, anything like this. They're basically finding people who have got. They seem to have a spark of this ability, and then trying to nurture it, for their own gain. And yeah, that's basically the idea of the movie. You got Clooney here. He's the ex-soldier. You got Ewan McGregor. He's a reporter trying to get to Clooney to find out the real story. There's some. It seems to be. It's definitely not a comedy. It's a serious movie with some light-hearted stuff in it. By no means a comedy. Although there is a couple of funny bits in there, but it's not an hour now. It's not a comedy movie. And the idea of the goat is you've got the guy with the power. He's sitting in a room with a goat, and what he's trying to do with his mind is induce a heart attack with a goat. With the idea being that if you can do that with a goat, the next step is to try and cause a person to have a heart attack, which I'm sure that most people better see the advantages of that. So, for example, if you had the power to use your mind to have a prime minister drop dead, then that would be an advantage for some people, So that's what they're trying to do. And there's some experiments with drugs and, Jeff Bridges, he's doing the alternative mind stuff. He's doing it through kumbaya and flowers and meditation and stuff. Whereas the others are doing it through mind control and drugs and whatnot. Yeah, interesting film, All right. Now this is a funny film. Used Cars. It's got Jeff Bridges, Jack here. Oh, he's not in the front. I believe that's Jack Warden. He is good. He actually plays two parts. Now, Jeff Bridges on the front here. He is a second-hand car salesman along with his little buddies. One of them, by the way, played Q, not the original Q, but you know the whole in Star Trek Generation. You've got Q that started off being a pain in the ass. It's one of his Q, another member of the Q Continuum. He's in it. There's a big black guy. He does the mechanics. He was the policeman in Arnold Schwarzenegger's Last Action Hero. He was the police chief, screaming and shouting, talking gibberish. That guy. Anyway, Kurt Russell here. He's a salesman in a second-hand car lot on one side of the road, owned by his boss, who is the good version of him. This guy, his brother, who's him in another character, owns the car lot directly across the street. So there's two competing car lots owned by brothers, twin brothers. And oh, it's funny as all hell. Kurt Russell here, he's got aspirations of running for governor. So he's saving up his money. He's trying to get contacts together and all this because he doesn't want to be a salesman all his life. He wants to be governor, go into politics. Yeah, these two brothers competing car lots across the road, and the evil brother is always trying to put his other brother out of business so he can own the whole lot. The good brother, Kurt Russell's boss, dies one night, but the trouble is, if it's known that he dies, then the evil brother will take over, and basically everybody's going to be canned, and it's going to be a bit shitty. So they have to keep the secret of the dead body, like one of those stories. They got a dead body, got to try and keep it a secret for a week. But it's very, very funny. Some of the little gags that they pull to try and get people onto their lot. Like one of them, there's a guy, for example, at the start of the film, that there's a guy at the other side of the street looking at the cars, and he suddenly sees a $10 note, $10 bill on the floor, and what it's doing is it's just out of reach, and he's running and he's going across the road, causing car crashes, ends up falling into their car lot across the street because Kurt Russell's got a $10 bill on a fishing rod, trying to get him over. But yeah, it's funny stuff, it's again, I feel like I'm underselling this, but this is the good brother's daughter. She turns into the love interest, and through a bit of skullduggery from the evil brother, the girl does a TV advert on behalf of her dad, saying, come down to the car lot. We've got instead of us, they changed the word smile into mile, a bit of skullduggery with the videotape on behalf of the bad brother. So now they're in danger of misleading the public. What do they call that? We're basically lying on film. So now they, in order to not get sued for libel or misrepresentation on a TV channel, they have to get a mile of cars. So there's a big adventure near the end where they're going down and that they're buying every car they can get their hands on. And they get all these driving students to basically drive across country to make a mile of cars. Oh, that reminds me. What's his name? The Munsters, the Dracula granddad. I can't think of his character's name, but the Dracula from the Munsters. He's in it. He plays the judge. So very good. It's a very funny film. Used cars. And there's another one. Oh man, Kurt Russell, Martin Short, very funny. It goes to show that the talents this guy Kurt Russell has, he can play everything. Like I said the other day on the live stream, he's played Elvis, he's played army soldiers from the future, crooked cops, he's played a pirate, he's played everything. The idea here is Martin Short and his family have inherited a boat. They've gone to the Bahamas, they've inherited a boat, but of course they don't know how to picture's frozen. They don't know how to sail a boat because they want to take it from the Bahamas back to where they live, so they can possibly do it up, they can sell it or do what the hell they want, but they need to get it from there back home. And that's where Kurt Russell comes in. They hire Kurt Russell to captain the ship from there back home. And of course, it's going to take. It used to be owned by some celebrity, say for example Errol Flynn or something like that. Yeah, probably it might say up here, but somebody. The boat used to be owned by a famous celeb. I'll say Errol Flynn. I don't think it was, but it was somebody of that ilk of that time. The boat is in pretty poor repair, so they use the several weeks it takes to travel on the boat. They use that time to fix the boat up, do a load of repairs, basically learn how things work. Captain Ron is in charge. He's teaching everybody different jobs, how to keep a boat, moving and all the rest of it. And comedy ensues, They have to stop off an island. They get mixed up with the Cuban rebels. They end up getting befriending some pirates. Captain Ron invites a load of Cuban rebels on board the ship in order to ferry them from one place to another in exchange for some guns. This kind of, because they're going to meet some pirates eventually. But it's all funny stuff, and yeah. There's some, there is some. I mean, Kurt Russell does a really good job in this. There's a funny scene where I was at when I think when I first watched this, I was sitting with somebody, with guys that's, if they're sitting around together, and there's a scene in this where they're playing cards or playing Monopoly, and the wife here leans over and Kurt Russell is looking down the opening of a shirt. And as soon as that happens, every guy in the room's like, yeah, that's okay. We've been there, And then of course he gets caught. So I mean, I've had that as well. Get caught looking down somebody's, anyway, but very funny. Worth a go if you get a chance. What we got here? Now this is Repo Man. Again, not to be confused with Repo Men a moment ago. This is Emilio Estevez. It's got Harry Dean Stanton, who you might remember from the Alien movies, a whole bunch of stuff. The Straight Story, that guy that goes across country on the tractor, he plays the brother on the other end of the trip. Basically, there's some kind of alien force in the boot of a car, and it's been driven all around town. It goes into one owner after another, because basically somebody who's driving the car I think the car starts to heat up. They look in the boot, they get zapped, turned into dust because of what's in the boot of the car. Another person will come along and steal the car. Same fate. And then Emilio Estevez here, he gets joined up with some repo men, to repossess cars that haven't had the payments made on them. And then I tell you, and it is a funny. It's a kind of a funny. All the little adventures they get, because they've got to go around. They've got to track these cars down. They've got to basically steal the car from the person who temporarily owns it, who hasn't been making the payments. And you can imagine the owner of the car is none too thrilled about the car being taken away, because they don't know it's been repossessed. It doesn't get been stolen, so they're not too thrilled. And there's some. He's part of he's trying to get away from his gang member buddies. They're all a bunch of wasters. They're not going anywhere. He's not too thrilled about joining the Repo Men, but he does it, and turns out he's pretty good. There's an alien force in there. Bit of gunplay. Very good film. Again, I'm underselling it. 18 certificate. I don't know why that would be. Possibly swearing. I don't know. But back in those days, they had a different system for. The certificate. You didn't have to do a whole hell of a lot to get an 18. But Repo Man. Okay, what we got here? Now this is Office Space. It's got a sticker on there. So you can't see the word Office Space. It's got, although funny enough, the main characters are not on the front. You got this guy who's a bit of a side character in there. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Jennifer Aniston from the Friends TV show. Ron Livingston. Ron Livingston is in the picture in the middle. He was in Band of Brothers. He was the guy always on the lookout for the booze. He didn't want to do very much, and he was always on the lookout for booze in the Band of Brothers. Yeah, this one, he's a guy. He's not very pleased with his job. He hates his job, like most people. He's got a couple of good work buddies that are always hanging out. They get the idea that they're going to do the similar thing in as a Spider-Man, the one with Richard Pryor, where they take all the fractions of the pennies that are going into people's accounts. They get rounded down, and so what their idea is to snatch all these fractions of a penny and put it into one account, and basically, make some money. And of course, it goes slightly wrong because they end up getting more money than they expected. So rather than a small amount that could be explained away, they end up getting a vast amount, like $100,000 or something, which is going to be difficult to explain that much money going missing. Yeah, very good. Jennifer Aniston, she was the one I hated in Friends. I really disliked her character. But I like her in pretty much all the movies that she's been in. This one is very good. Yeah, Livingston, he's so much in a rut. He goes in, he doesn't care anymore. He's just had enough. He's ready to quit. So can't see his name. But when can't think of his name, him from Platoon. Shit, his name escapes me. A couple of guys from Human Resources, they come in and basically to thin out the crowd, thin out the herd. They go there and they're going to make like 12 people redundant. So basically, they go through everybody, finding out what they do, how relevant they are to the job, and are they worth keeping. They get the impression that he is actually out of management material because he's not that he's lazy, he's just unmotivated. So, they give him a promotion. It's but yeah, that and the stealing the money, because there's actually a reference to the Superman movie. They think, oh, that's the idea from the Superman movie. It's there's a movie called The Beverly Hillbillies. It was the tall Jethro character. He's in it. He's quite funny. But yeah, I think most people can relate to this because everybody's been in a job that they. I've never been in an office job as such. But I can imagine. I've worked in places where I've had to deal with office people, and it's not a job I'd want to be in an office. But you can sympathise with the guy. He comes in, does the same thing every day. He's got an asshole boss, and he's sitting in a little cubicle for the 8 hours. Yeah, quite a funny film. Okay, let's see if there's anything going on in the comments. Paul Villis is in the house. Shawshank Redemption is his favourite film. Indeed, it's not a bad movie. Lee Merton, hello, Mark, Mr. Film Critic. Good. There we go. Yeah. Oh, so my knees are going. Okay. Yeah, we'll do a bunch more as long as there's a few people watching, but now what's this? Biodome. Yeah, this is actually this guy Paulie Shaw. And this guy is one of the Baldwin brothers, Stephen Baldwin. There we go. And it's got, although her name is not on the front, it's got Kylie Minogue in here as well. She doesn't have a big part. It's just a small part, but she's in it. She's one of the scientists. Basically, you got these two guys, a couple of stoners, a couple of wasters. They're going nowhere. Their girlfriends they're going to dump them because they know they're a pair of losers, and what they do, they're driving down the street, There's a bit of shenanigans going on. They're driving down the road and they discover this big building. They think, oh shit, is it? They think it. They mistakenly think it's a big supermarket or a shopping center. So they go in, but the trouble, what it is, it turns out to be a biodome. So you got your big biodome, and it's got like half a dozen different landscapes. One section of the biodome is desert, one section of the biodome is forest, one section of the biodome is say a snowy wilderness. So basically, it's like a mini greenhouse effect. In several departments. So basically, they're looking to how to save the world by if they can keep these little areas going for like a whole year. Anyway, they go in, think it's a bloody shopping centre. They get locked in, and the trouble is the doors are also they're locked for like a year. So they're stuck in there. But the trouble is there's like 4 scientists, and they've got exactly enough food, exactly enough oxygen, because basically it's sealed. So the amount of oxygen being produced by the plants, they've worked it out that that's what these 4 people will use in a. But now you've got to equate for 2 extra people in the mix. So yeah, I mean, it is a wacky. I mean, a lot of it, won't make sort of. It's not going to win any awards or nothing. It's just one of those you turn your brain off and you're entertained for an hour and 31 minutes. It's it's very wacky, very silly, very wild. But good. It's fun. Okay. Right. Let's have a look at what we got here. Now Weekend at Bernie's. This is the one I referred to earlier about. This is my kind of movie where you've got a dead body, and then the people have got to keep it a secret for their own gain. At least, they've got to keep the dead body a secret for a while. Otherwise, they plan to lose something, lose money, lose their job, get something. There's something to lose. Now, Weekend at Bernie's. These two, Andrew McCarthy, which is this guy, and Jonathan. His name's covered by the label Silverman or Silverman. Yeah, Jonathan Silverman, Andrew McCarthy. Let me see. St. Elmo's Fire, I believe. Was it? Possibly St. Elmo's Fire he was in. He's been in a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, these two work in an office. They somehow discover that, in an insurance broker office, they somehow discover that the paperwork is all messed up, and it is a case of certain people are being paid out multiple life insurance policy payments, which of course is a bit of an error, probably, maybe, or delivery, but the trouble is they go to their boss Ernie, who is actually in league with some mobsters to steal the money from the company. They're arranging for one person to have 2, 3, 4 insurance policy paying out, and do this a whole bunch of times. They're raking in the money. They're stealing it from the company. These 2 guys accidentally find out. They make the mistake of thinking that they're doing a good thing by telling the boss, and now the boss is thinking, right, we've got to kill these 2. So what they do, Ernie invites them to his beach house with the intention of killing them at some point, or not him as such, but his mobster buddies. And it's one of those, he's got a big rich mansion on the beach, and but basically people just show up. There's a big moving party. People all basically move all around the place, going from party to party to party. Bernie ends up dead. These 2, oh, what's happening there? It's frozen. These 2, they have to keep Ernie a secret, his death, because you know, that they don't want to be implicated, and also, you know, oh, well, also aside from being implicated in his death, if they alert the police to his death, that means that their weekend of luxury, parties, booze, birds, is over. You know, so a bit selfish on their part. They figure, right, what we'll do, we'll keep his death a secret for the weekend, and we'll, you know, we'll have a chance to stay in this luxury mansion until Monday morning when we're going to go back to work, and then we'll tell everybody that the boss died, and you know. But so basically, they're keeping it a secret so they, you know, so their boring lives can stay entertained by being in this big mansion for the weekend. It's very funny. There is a sequel to this, Weekend at Bernie's 2, which is like in real time, in our time, it was like 10 years after, but in the movie time, it is set like a day after this one ends, you know. But yeah, you know, the funny thing is, I mean, it's like one of they're at a party, you know, 50 people join the party out of the blue, and they're like, oh hell, you know, we can't get rid of, you know, we can't do anything, you know, we've got to sort of pretend. They put him on the couch, put some sunglasses on him, and pretend that he's stoned out of his mind or drunk. So everybody's talking to him. There's a guy trying to buy his boat. Say, right, you know, I want to buy your boat. You know, all right, 5, 10 grand, 15 grand, 20. He's trying to do a deal, and because Bernie's not reacting, he's thinking, oh, he's playing hard to get with the boat sale. So he comes back, some fitness guys, his personal trainer comes along. So he's like, oh, Bernie, you're very tense. You know, it's like, yeah, rigor mortis is coming. But nobody knows he's dead. You know, they're all thinking that he's a bit drunk, he's fallen asleep or whatever, you know. Funny stuff. Very funny film. My kind of movie. Weekend at Bernie's. Car trouble. Now, interestingly enough, you see the guy, the man there, the husband at the steering wheel. I found out another film that he was in purely by chance. Tarzan, you know, the one with Christopher Lambert, Tarzan, Lord of the Apes. When Tarzan is being brought from the jungle back to, quote, civilization, halfway through they stop at the jungle hotel, and there's a bunch of English people there, and they're mistreating a little black boy because he's, you know, black. You know, give him a, you know, 6 of the best, give him a thrashing with a whipping, you know, with a belt or something because they can. Turns out to be that guy. He's in it. He's one of the people who, you know, likes to mistreat little children because they can. That was him. Anyway, but the idea is, this guy is an air traffic control working at the airport. You got his wife over here, and what he does, he goes out and he gets talked into buying a sports car by the car salesman. You know, he goes in and you know, he's sort of like he's trying to be flash, but he ends up buying a car that's totally useless for their needs, you know. And of course, what's her name? Julie Walters, the wife. She's not allowed anywhere near the car. She can't even look at the car. Don't even look at the car. You know, you don't even touch the car. As soon as he's out of the picture, goes to work or something, she finds the keys, drives the car, drives it around, drives it over a hedge, basically messes up the car, gets a lot of branches stuck under the car, so that leads the husband to realize that she's been driving it around without him knowing. She's having an affair with one of the young mechanics at the garage. There's you know, behind her husband's back, and the trouble is, it seems to be going okay as such. She's one of these. She wants an affair because her life is boring with her husband. She's not being sort of treated all that well by her husband. She wants an affair, but she kind of doesn't want the affair, you know. So she's like a bit of a pain. She's like, yeah, I do, but yeah, I don't, but yeah, I do, but no. Anyway, so that kind of pisses off the little mechanic guy. Anyway, they're where it all goes wrong is they're banging in the car. All right, they end up hitting the brake. The car rolls down a hill into traffic, makes a 12-car pile up, and of course they're trapped in the car. So now you've got the fireman trying to cut the top off of the car. You've got the TV crew filming this. Big car crash. So I mean but there's all kinds of mishap. But basically, it's life in suburbia. Their marriage is sort of like, they're basically going through the motions in the marriage. He buys a car because he's sort of thinking, well, that's the only exciting thing that's going on in my life. She wants an affair, but she does, she doesn't, she does, she doesn't. I don't know. Basically, a housewife, and it's a good story. It's like it's like it's like a really bad day ramped up a notch. Yeah, quite a good film. I like that one. That was In fact, that young mechanic, he actually had a bit part in one of the Bond movies. I think it's the one with the guy that his face melts when he takes out his dentures. It was that movie. He played a bit part in that. Ah, right. Escape from New York. This is the first one. The second one being Escape from LA, which would be in a heap. Escape from New York. Snake Plissken, one of the best action characters out there. It's a shame that Kurt Russell is probably way too old to make a third. It would have been great in the day if they did. Although the second one kind of got slated, that was more to do with the special effects. But Snake Plissken, if he's one of the better action heroes. He's one of these anti-heroes. He's a total, doesn't give a shit about anybody except himself and the goal he's trying to get through or get to. But people like him because he's an anti-hero. He's just like rough, tough action man. The idea is things have gotten so bad, crime's gone so through the roof that they've actually turned the New York into basically an open jail, and they've sealed it, or they've blown the bridge, they've sealed it off from the mainland, and the whole New York is a prison. The president's plane goes down in the New York. Kurt Russell gets sent in to go in and rescue the president. So he goes in and but the thing is, he's got an injection in his neck which is going to explode if he doesn't get back in a certain amount of hours. Very good, very action. His whole demeanor is I think if I remember correctly, he said in a documentary once that he styled it on a mix between Clint Eastwood and John Wayne, if I'm not, definitely Clint Eastwood, but I'm pretty sure John Wayne as well. A mix of the two is his character in here. And very good fun. Watching him. I mean, he'll do. He's one of these. I mean, he's killing baddies left and right, but you root for him because you do, because he's a likable kind of. He's not so much. The thing is, I mean, he's a criminal, which is why he got himself recruited for this. It's this or prison, And so anyway, they get So yeah, definitely worth a go. It is made in the mid-80s. It's an hour and a half long. It says on the back here 81. So the computer graphics are going to be very dated, but if you can get over that, basically when they're looking at computer screens and stuff, I believe Lee Van. I was going to say Lee Van Cleef. I couldn't remember if he's on the first or second, but he's in the first because his name's on the front here. Got Lee Van Cleef, Ernest Borgnine, Donald Pleasance, who plays the president. He was in The Great Escape. He played the blind guy losing his eyesight. Isaac Hayes, he's a singer. Harry Dean Stanton, again from the Alien movies. Yeah, very good. Worth a go. And there's the sequel, by chance. I'm actually, because why do I reach back here and I just take one at random? But this is the sequel. Now, as if the first one, we didn't have a bad enough time. He goes, this one is Escape from LA. So, this one is, the idea is the president's daughter, being a silly girl, she falls in love with one of the inmates. There's a whose name I can't see, but she falls. There, well, there you go. He's right there. She falls in love with him. He's basically using her because she's the daughter of the president. She's got brainwashed, or she's just a silly sod. Snake Plissken has to go in and basically rescue her for her own good, and basically deal with all the terrorists. Henry Fonda's in it. Peter Fonda. There you go. Oh, and Pam Grier is in it. She plays Carjack, which she doesn't like that name. And also what was his name from The Evil Dead? Shit, my mind's going. I need something to eat. He's in it. He plays a plastic surgeon. He's sort of like, he tries to, he chops up bodies to use their parts to, because he's a Hollywood plastic surgeon. So he's doing that, even though it's turned into a prison island. Very good action movie again. Good soundtrack. There's some Rob Zombie music in there. So some motorbike stunts in there. Escape from LA. Yeah, the on the front here you can see that surfing scene. That the surfing. Steve Buscemi's in it as well. That surfing scene, the special effects, they didn't spend a lot of money on it, which I think was what a lot of people had a problem with. Personally, those special effects are a bit naff. But if you look at the picture on the whole, it's a very good. It's just a good action movie. Taxi Driver. Let's see. I'll hold this up there. Let's see if I can look at some. Brian Clifton. Hope you're well, Mark. Long time since I tuned in. Oh, welcome back. Yep, Mad Maz is in the house. Just click that off. George C has just dropped by. I'll catch the rerun. Okay, that's good. It'll be the rerun will be loaded later. Yeah, Chris Canny. Actually, they would be in my top two as well. Tarantino and John Carpenter. Yeah, I don't really have too many favorite directors. Oh, the Coen brothers, perhaps. They've done some really good work. Anyway, Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver. There you go. An old classic. It for anybody who hasn't seen it, Robert De Niro here. Can't see his character name. I can't remember his character. But Robert De Niro here. He's a war vet. He's come out of the army, although that doesn't have too much to do with the story being a vet. Although that might explain his meltdown, I guess. His brain goes a bit unwired. He's looking for work. He gets a job as a taxi driver. He has trouble sleeping, so he's doing all kind of night shift hours. which the little dialogue that he goes into a part of the movie is, basically you see all the scum of the earth come out at night, and he has an attraction with Sybil Shepherd. He goes down. She's working for some guy who's running for office. He managed to take her out on a date. That doesn't go all over very well because he's a bit socially awkward. Meets up with Jodie Foster. She's a prostitute, like a 15-year-old prostitute. He befriends her, tries to put her on the straight and narrow, trying to help her to, straighten her life out a little bit. Harvey Keitel plays her pimp and her boyfriend, and all in all, it's basically that's just some of the things that happen there. But basically, it's a guy who is fairly unhinged to begin with. What with lack of sleep, long hours, taking certain drugs to keep him awake, to do the long hours, seeing the lowlifes of the city, nothing but bad news from the minute he starts his shift, all the scum of society. These all, start to, rot his brain a little bit. And then he gets into his head that what he's going to do is to kill this guy, who's running for office. I'm not sure he's running for president or running. He tries that for a little bit. That doesn't work out. So what he does, instead of doing that to try and save the country, that doesn't turn out all that well. He turns his attention on trying to save this girl. And there's a really intense shootout where he goes. That's where the line. You see, the line has been used 100 times. That one he's in front of the mirror. It's like, are you talking to me? Are you talking? You must be talking to me because I'm. Are you talking to me? That scene. Apparently, that was improv. But he's got all of some guns, and he's got into his head that he's gonna. The only way to save this girl from basically a life of misery as a prostitute is to go in and basically kill all the people who are keeping her in captivity. So he goes and shoots Harvey Keitel, goes up, shoots a whole bunch of other people. It's got some quite graphic, there's some gunshots, some fingers getting shot off. He ends up getting shot. But the thing is, he goes into sort of like from Taxi Driver at the beginning, losing his mind at his wit's end, to attempted murderer of the senator wannabe, and then goes into murdering some pimps, turns into hero, So it's kind of like a full circle. Very good movie, very gritty. What do we got here? 28 Days Later. Let's see who we got in the... Oh, Scotty B's in the house. Yeah, he's not watched the 4-hour one from yesterday. Yeah, once I've done this one, I'll probably give it a rest for a couple of days, let everybody catch up. Now, this one, 28 Days Later, it's a similar idea to The Walking Dead, where the guy, although The Walking Dead, we see a bit of a backstory of how he got to hospital, but in this one, the young guy wakes up in hospital. He must think he was in a dreamland because he gets up, walks around. The whole place is deserted. It's similar to what's going on now. Everybody's on lockdown, or we're on lockdown, but everybody's dead or dying. In the movie here, streets are deserted. He doesn't know whether he's dreaming or what the hell's going on. Right, buses turned over, and where they've crashed and everything. So he's wandering around in a daze. He's just got out of hospital. Oh, pictures frozen again. He's got out of hospital and he's wandering around, and he's got to find out the hard way. And the picture is still frozen. What the I'm going to carry on. I'm going to assume that he gets to... Anyway, so he basically has got to find out the hard way about what's been happening. So since he's been gone, there's a contagion called Rage, I believe it's called. The animal rights people have gone in and let the animals loose, and of course that lets the virus out. So people basically turn into zombies, but the trouble is they're fast-moving zombies, which is a bit I mean, a little bit inconvenient, you know. Be better for everybody if they were slow moving, but these are very fast. They can sprint. Uh, so yeah, he wandered around. He basically meets up with a couple of people, then befriends them. Meets up with a couple more people. That Gleason guy, him and his daughter, they're up in a high rise flat. They come across a signal over the radio. Basically, it's on a loop saying, "We have sanctuary. Come to us. Get yourself here. We have food. We've got shelter. We got protection. All this lot." So they go on a quest. They hire a taxi. They acquire a taxi, and then they go across the country to find the location of the message. Trouble is, the message is a ruse. You know, there's a whole bunch of army guys who have strayed away from army discipline, and basically they're out for themselves, and they're basically putting out this message to try and lure people to this big country home that they fortified, with the intention of holding these people hostage, you know, for their own personal gain. Basically, want to rape the ass off any women that show up in it. And they end up shooting a whole bunch of zombies. They want to keep the women but get rid of the guy. The guy in retaliation to save his two friends allows the zombies into the house, and all hell ensues. You know, it's a whole lot better than the. I don't have the sequel, so I'll tell you a little bit about the sequel. The sequel, when you start watching it from the very beginning, they've got a whole bunch of American cast in there. The guy with the arrow from those Super Marvel movies, the bow and arrow, he's in it. It looks like, unlike this one, where it is just a good story of zombies and people fending for themselves, the sequel looks like it's got American money in it, because immediately there's a bunch of Americans actors in there. The story is that the Americans have taken over part of London to quarantine it, to make it a safe haven. They're the ones that basically save us from fucking, it's like we can't do it for ourselves. But that's why American money's gone into the movie, so they put it into the plot that Americans have saved England from the zombie apocalypse. So the second one was a fucking load of shit, but the first one, good action, packed, very very dark and gritty. What is scary is that the fast moving zombies, I mean, it's a whole lot more scarier than the slow moving zombies, because those, they're not too scary at all. 28 days later. Okay. Well, we got Rocky 1. Now, I think this is the only Rocky one I've got, I think. But, yeah. This one is, in my opinion, the best story of the lot. For action, I'd go for the Mr. T. For action with a little bit of, what would you call it? Pointing out the problems with the world and countries getting along with each other. I've forgotten how to phrase that, but that would be the Ivan Drago, the Rusky. But for the good, down to earth, solid story, this is the one. Basically, he's a low end of the scale boxer. He's trying to make a name for himself, but he has the heart. But he doesn't. I mean, he has some skill, of course. He doesn't have the right push. He doesn't have the right manager. He doesn't have a manager at the beginning to push him. He can go places, but he doesn't have the drive himself. He doesn't have the drive to push himself to do it. But once he gets Mickey involved, and there's but basically he's working for some arm twisters, some loan sharks to earn a bit of cash, in between boxing fights. Very good. I mean, but he's living in a real shitty one-room apartment, not earning much money through his fighting. The best scene for me, The best scene for me in the whole film is when, after Apollo Creed goes through the book and he finds a guy, basically he goes by the name, the Italian Stallion. You know, 'cause he's thinking, he's dreaming up the billboard, Apollo Creed versus the Italian Stallion. So he basically chooses him because of the name. After he's chosen him, he said to him, right, you have the opportunity to fight the champion of the world. The champion of the world's thinking this is going to be, you know, a walkover, you know, because basically he's fighting a bum. But the trouble is, Rocky looks at it as, this is my chance. If I can just, I might not be able to beat the guy, but if I can just show that I can stay in the ring and, you know, show what I've got, that would be my leg up the ladder, and I can actually make a name. You know, so that's his motivation. Apollo Creed thinks he's going to go nowhere. Now, having said that, now Mickey, the coach of the boxing school, goes to his apartment, and he's talking to him, saying, look, you are going to get screwed, okay? If you don't have a manager like me, you need me, because I've done this for the last 50 years. I'm telling you, the things that will happen to you, you're going to get, thumb, nails in the thumb of your gloves. That people have used that. They told him, unscrupulous things. You will get fucked over if you don't have a manager. You need a manager if you're going to make something. This is a one-time opportunity. You're going to screw it up if you don't have somebody in your corner watching out for you. And of course, Stallone, his reaction is to, screw you. You weren't, basically you threw me out of the gym because I wasn't making my payments on the gym. You closed my locker. What do I need you for? I don't need anybody. I'll just do it myself. And Mickey slinks off. He's walking down the street. Now, that side where Rocky loses his, he gets all pissed off and starts shouting and screaming, saying, look, why should I don't need you, get out. I don't need, I don't need your help. I don't need anybody's help. From there, then he started, after a few seconds, he started to think, oh shit, he's actually right. I do need some help because I'm going to get boned. This is the one job. This opportunity is going to come around once in a lifetime, and I can't do it on my own. The scene where Mickey's walking down the street and Rocky comes out of his house and he runs toward Mickey, away from the camera. Now, after a few seconds, Mickey and we're at one end of the street, the camera, and Mickey and Stallone are at the far end. We've got no idea what they're saying, but we know the gist, through body language. And he's saying, look, basically, I'm sorry, I didn't mean what I do need your help, and I'd be grateful if you would help me out. You're reading this through their body language. It was a good option not to have that shown as dialogue, because we don't need it. The audience are not totally fucking stupid. Actually, I shouldn't be swearing, but they're not. The audience are not stupid. We can read the body language of these people way down the street, and it was a really good scene, played very well. It would have ruined it if we'd have been privy to the dialogue. We don't need it. We know what Rocky's saying. We know what Mickey just said in his apartment. We know what Rocky is saying, look, I'm real sorry. I lost my mind there for a minute. I do need your help. And if you could help me out, that'd be great. We're seeing this through body language. And very, for story-wise, the best out of the lot, in my opinion. Let's see. Right, Scotty B's going to watch it on the rerun. Let's see, we've got a few people watching. Okay, I'll get back to a DVD in a moment. But yeah, like I say, number one for story. Number two, I think, was Mr. T. That's the best one for action in the ring. And the one with Ivan Drago was good for a bit of action, bit of multicultural intrigue, and hating the Russians. And then I think it was number 5, the one with Tommy Gunn, that big load of old shite. So they kind of went downhill. Actually, Mr. Merchant says Rocky came out when he was born. Oh boy. Trying to see what I can't see what year that was. Oh, 70? I can't see anything. Oh. It's even worse. Jesus Christ, I can't see nothing. Anyway, all right. Okay, one at random here. Oh, 76. Lee Merton. Oh, you're 6 years younger than me then. Yeah, 76. I tell you, that was yeah, 76. Yeah, so I mean the movie must have been set in 76 as well. Filmed in and set in 76 as well. Let's have a look. Oh, let me see. I'm trying to think of the name of the film without looking on the front. The Cowboys with John Wayne. Now, this has got Bruce Dern in there playing a really good bad guy. This is one of the very few where I think John Wayne got killed. He got killed in this one. I've got the shootist over there with John Wayne, and it's got little Richie Cunningham from the Fonzie show, Happy Days. He's in it. Lauren McCall, I believe, is in it. Not this, but the shootist. Yeah, so the shootist are the I think the only two that come to mind where John Wayne gets killed. Now, one of the characters. Oh, there you go. That one there, who you might not be able to probably. It's not a very good photo. Yeah, I think his name's Carradine. He was in one of the Escape movies, Escape from LA or Escape from New York. Can't remember which one it was, but he was in that. He was in Revenge of the Nerds, you know. Anyway, the idea is John Wayne here has a ranch along with his wife. I think he used to have a couple of sons. I think they, or at least one, maybe two, that got killed in the war. So he's running a ranch with horses. I think horses or cattle. Yeah, cows, I think. Anyway, so but the trouble is, all his staff. He's got a whole bunch of staff that that work on the ranch, and they're going to take the cattle from the ranch all the way to market, across the state. And trouble is, a lot of his, Bruce Dern. I'm just reading the back there. A lot of his staff up and leave him in the shit. They go because they've heard that there's gold to be had in another state, so they want to go and basically try their luck there. But by doing that, they're leaving him in the shit because he's got all this cattle to move. Nobody to move them. He needs people to run the cattle. So anyway, they go. Bruce Dern shows up. Him and his friends. They start lying to John Wayne about their background. It turns out they've just got out of prison. He doesn't take them on, not because they can't out of prison, it's because they lied. He can't be dealing with people who lie. They can't be trusted. So he's up to his ears in trouble now. So what with he's got no money. He's going to lose all his money if he doesn't sell his cattle. So he is forced to go to the local school and recruit all the school kids. There's about like 12 school kids, and he offers them, some money once the horses or the cattle get to market. And a bit of an adventure. There's an adventure while he's training them to, be proficient on a horse and a lasso and how to deal with the cattle. There's a lot of adventure there. Then they go on the drive. they meet up with Bruce Dern and his band of bandits who basically want to take the herd and sell them and keep money for themselves and that. Yeah, and basically, yeah, I mean, these they start off as kids, and of course, each one's got their own personality, and basically how they got to grow up really fast because they're you know, one kid gets killed. It's no big joke out there. One kid gets killed. The other one gets sort of threatened with murder by Bruce Dern in order to you know, so because Bruce Dern is following the herd. Yeah, so the kids grow up. You know, they got to grow up real fast. John Wayne actually gets killed at the near the end with you know, by Bruce Dern. And there's a line that I remember from Bruce Dern. He's just shot John Wayne there, and he says, you know, he says to his group of men, right, men, pack up everything, take everything but the fire. I mean, that is like, you know, basically he's saying, you know, just leave nothing, take it everything but the fire. So there's a line I remember. But yeah, a good feel good movie for the most part. Okay. Okay, I'll do a few more. I'm starting to ache a little bit. I'm gonna. Well, actually, War Ready. All these movies remind me of Blockbuster. Well, yeah, I mean Blockbuster was one of the bigger ones, but you know, there used to be a lot of independent ones around as well. Anyway, now Tremors 5. Yeah, not my favorite one out of the bunch. Number 1 was brilliant. 2, 3. I can't remember what was going on with 4, but this one's 5. Yeah, I think you know, because they start to evolve. You got the arse blasters. Some of them are named in. They might even be in here. Yeah, this has got Michael Gross again. He's been in all, I believe, all of the films, if I'm not mistaken. Jamie Kennedy. That's him there, Jamie Kennedy. Yeah, you know, I can't remember too much about this, but you know, basically it's the same. You know, it's the same sort of story, fairly much. You know, you got people who are trying to track down the graboids. The graboids are they're wreaking havoc in whatever town and village they're in. Lots of gunfire and explosions or whatnot. You know, it's not the worst film in the world, but definitely not the best one out of this sequence. Like I say, you know, number 1 is the best for me. It's just a real simple buddy movie, and then it progresses from there. You know, slightly more action packed in each one. Yeah, but they're all very good. Not the best one. This. Already. Already, some movies overstay their welcome. Yeah. Lee Merton was born in 75, so you're 5 years younger. Apparently I'm live on Facebook. Oh, that's well, Lee Merton's organised that. Thank you very much, Lee Merton. Live on Facebook. Shit, that means I'm going to have to stay around a bit. I was thinking I'll do a little bit more and then get something to eat and have a lay down. But seeing as I'm live on Facebook, I may as well stick around. Already, they just milk franchises. Yeah, I mean, sometimes they do. You know, they can. You know, that's the thing about Hollywood. You know, they do milk films to death. You know, get every drop of revenue out of them, and unfortunately, that can lead to a serious decline in quality as well. You know, in most cases. Inglorious or Bastards, yeah. Now the thing is, this it's like you know, like Tarantino, he did the Django Unchained, which has nothing to do with the original movie Django, except for the title. You know, he likes to use titles from old films. This one, Inglourious Bastards. He's used the title from an old film, which has absolutely, well, except for the fact they both got Nazis in them. Other than that, there is absolutely no resemblance from that film to this film. You know, yeah. Anyway, yeah, this one is actually quite good. It's more of a, if you know, what if we were to change history kind of thing. It's not trying to portray any actual events. It's saying, what if there was a group of mercenaries deliberately going in to harass the German morale by murdering a lot of the soldiers in pretty grisly ways? And also, what if we managed to shoot Hitler to death? What if we managed to burn down a movie theater full of the top high-ranking officials in the Nazi party? It's like one of those. It's not a historical reenactment. It's more of a what if these certain things happen, and that would make for an entertaining movie. And for the most part, it is. That there's Christopher Waltz. Now his scene at the very beginning, where he's talking to the Frenchman in his house, and he's up there drinking the milk, and he's talking about the Jew having certain traits along, with a rat, that whole dialogue was amazing. You're aside from the dialogue, which is amazing in itself, I like to watch actors' body language, because in a lot of movies, because body language will say so much more than dialogue. You can verbally you can say one thing, but body language will be saying a totally different story. But sometimes you can put the two together, come up with a good thing. But when you listen to Waltz talking, along with his body language of the Frenchman, because of course, but the Frenchman, he's sitting there knowing that the Frenchies, the Jews are under the floorboards, so he knows it. Waltz suspects it. He pretty much knows, but he's going there, but he suspects it a lot. But basically, he draws it out because he doesn't want to go in there and sort the problem out. He's fucking with his Frenchman a little bit, I think. But yeah, the body language, everything to do with a pipe, the fact that he drinks his milk, all kinds of, and then it leads into the bastards, how they're recruiting them. Yeah, it's a good action. Very, I mean, pretty much everything that Tarantino's done has been good. I can't think of anything that I haven't liked of his. Some of his early stuff, he had co-wrote with people, I believe, or written certain scenes for movies, like shit, I can't remember. One escapes me. There was Destiny. Actually, there was one movie, Destiny on the Radio. That was a really crazy one. There was a dimension portal in a swimming pool. I think he co-wrote that with somebody. That was a long, long time ago. But yeah, pretty much everything he's done, a good array of characters, some very good dialogue, and as long as you don't look at it as a history film, just look at it as a what if this scenario happened, So yeah, very good. Already, Mark is a famous man. Aha. Yeah, now I'm on Facebook, live on Facebook. Hello to everybody on Facebook. Okay, what we got here? Oh, this one. Yeah. I'll tell you what. Now there's two. There's season 1 and season 2, two different adventures from the same people. You got Ewan McGregor, of course, from the Star Wars movie and a whole bunch of other stuff. You got this other guy here. He's another actor. These two met on the set of a program film they were doing, and they become lifelong buddies. What they're doing is in season 1 and 2, different adventures. They're going to go sort of round the world, I guess, on motorbikes. And the first part of the program starts off as they're trying to organize getting some free motorbikes out of these companies for some promotion, which is not as easy as it sounds. Apparently, looking at the troubles these two had. Anyway, then they got to figure out where they're going to go. They're going to go through here onto the ferry over to Germany, go drive 1,000 miles, go into Russia, go through Istanbul and through the mountains and through the deserts, all this kind of stuff. And and basically the camera crew follows them, and it's all their little adventures. And of course they're broadcasting this on television or the internet, so people are knowing their route. So when they go through towns, they're meeting the locals. The locals want to help them out, so they're having, they can let them stay overnight in the houses. And it's just, it's just a real life sort of, documentary, of these two adventure going around the world. Just two guys on motorbikes. They've got a crew following them in Range Rovers, but aside from that, they're pretty much on their own. And it's the long journey that they go through different countries, through different cultures. They have accidents. They have repair. Some welding or a bar will break on the motorbike, and they've got to fix it on the fly. It's basically a bit like you got to watch every episode of the A-Team to sort of figure the way they repair bikes in the middle of nowhere. They got some duct tape and a spanner, and they've got to fix the broken chassis. It's either, you got to be self-reliant, and that's what these two guys discover on their journey. The long way round is what they're called. Long way round, long way down. Season 1 and 2. Okay, let's have a look what we got here. Now U571. I was thinking this was Das Boot there for a minute, but U571. This is, for an action film, it is actually quite good. It's very suspenseful, very action film. The way they tell it here is how the Americans did it all by themselves. But what are you going to do? If the Americans make a film, then they're putting in the money. But what they've done is they've discovered that a submarine has broken down in the middle. A German submarine is broken down, I believe, and it's carrying the Enigma code machine. So the Americans have to come along, pose as Germans to get alongside to take over the broken down submarine and steal the machine and scupper the German sub, and that's when it all goes downhill because they're in the middle of that, and then they get torpedoed from from a battleship or another sub, so now the good submarine that they arrived on is blown up. So now they have to go in and salvage the broken submarine. So now they're driving around in a German submarine, trying to stay away from the Americans, or they get shot down. It's basically, the submarine's a bit of a wreck. There was a reason why they were going to explode that and get onto the good one. But now they've got to salvage the bad one. Yeah, and basically they go around and they've got to turn a really bad situation into a survivable scenario there. Lots of action, lots of underwater suspense. Harvey Keitel's in it. Bill Paxman or Paxton. Is it Paxton or Paxman? Him from the Terminator movies. Doesn't say on the back here. Oh, Paxton. Paxton. Yeah, it's got Matthew McConaughey, Bill Paxton, Harvey Keitel, and John Bon Jovi. The stellar cast, it says here. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, there's a guy called Snodgrass in there. He's been in a few movies. Very good movie. All right, what we got? Apocalypto. Yeah, I think in the last DVD review I did the other day, I mentioned Jack Black in the movie Year One, where he's a caveman. He gets turfed out of his village, and then he goes on a quest because all his villagers in his thing, they got kidnapped and get sent down to be slave labor on the pyramids and be sacrificed as, it's a comedy movie. But they took that idea of all the village getting kidnapped, and one guy has to go in and sort of like, do what he can to, rescue a few people. But loosely, I mean, this is nowhere near a comedy, whereas Jack Black was. But the idea is, you got one tribe of people. They're just hunter gatherer types, and then all of a sudden, as usually happens, it doesn't just happen to the black slaves. Every you got one village will go out and snatch another village, snatch up all the population of them, turn them into slave labor. That's how it worked back in those days. There was nothing unusual about that. They get hauled off over a trek for a couple of weeks from one end of the bloody country to the other, with the idea of being sacrificed to the gods to give them good crops or whatever. So you got that story. You've got several different stories going on. Then you've got I think his name's Tiger Paw in the. It doesn't really something like that. Tiger Paw, Tiger Claw. His pregnant wife is fallen down a hole while the village was being attacked, so she's down there in a big hole, unable to get out. You got that. She's got to, he's got to come back and rescue her before she gets filled up with rainwater and drowns. His whole village, all the men get either murdered or taken away as slaves. You got lots of baddies in there, not treating prisoners too well. Basically they end up in a big town, big city, which they've never seen anything of the like, and they're all being painted blue and sacrificed, and then thrown down the stairs of the pyramid. The pyramid that you can see. Let me fucking. There you go. It's bloody light for some reason. It's been a bit of a pain. Anyway, there's the pyramids. Written and directed by Mel Gibson. Writer, director, and producer Mel Gibson, along with somebody else. There you go. So this is not bad. It's all. None of it's English. It's all subtitles. Which if you're able to deal with subtitles, some people are not. But personally, I find subtitles are fine as long as it's not a fast-paced action movie, because you're trying to watch the fast-paced action and read what's going on. That doesn't usually work for me, but when the action is a little bit paced, a little bit slower, subtitles I find are not too much of a problem, because you can read and follow visually what's going on in the story. Oh no. Yeah, I can't remember too much about this. This is Dusk Till bloody light. This is Dusk Till Dawn 2. It I can't really tell you too much about this. It's been a long time. It's I'm sure it's after the first. The second one was back in the westerns, so this will be. This is sort of like modern times, if I remember correctly. Um, it's got that Danny Churro in it again. He was in the first one. He might have been in the second. The way I don't know, but he was in the first. He's the one with the tattoos. Yeah, I can't really tell you anything about this. I cannot remember. It's got Robert Patrick in it. He's in the middle there, photograph. Of course, he was RoboCop, not RoboCop. The Silver Terminator from Terminator 2. Can't really tell you too much on that front. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, Lee Merton, least I can do, he says, to help the channel. No, it's much appreciated. Yeah, because I'm in, putting it on, what was it? Facebook. Hopefully, some extra people be sent this way. It might be a big help. Thank you. Somebody Merton, War Ready, Apocalypto is a really good film. It is, yeah, very good. I mean, aside from the, I don't like I say, I don't mind the subtitles as long as the action's not too fast. I can't concentrate on both. Lee Merton, Mel Gibson's a good director. Yeah, I think he's done some fairly good work. War Ready. The scene where they're throwing arrows at them while they escape was good. Yeah, I think I know which one you mean. That he has to run down the field, and they say to him, "If you can get to the cornfield before you get stabbed, with the spears, you get to." Oh, of course, that's a load of shit because they try and chase him down anyway. But yeah, he's got the right idea of weaving left and right. It's pretty good idea. He makes you think, makes you wonder why nobody else thought of doing that before him. There's a big pile of bodies on the end of the field, which nobody figured about running in diagonals. Lee Merton, £7. Bet you didn't pay that for it, Mark. Oh no, yeah. Well, the thing, yeah. Well, that one there. I believe. I tell you, I was out of my mind because the thing. Remember, this is from a long time ago. This was for some reason I really wanted this film, and it was on special. I would never pay £7 on film now. 50p to a couple of pound at most. But yeah, I mean the thing is, I mean remember, these didn't all come from the CEX 50p bin. I've had these. I've been collecting these for years and years. I've got rid of several hundred of them down at the exchange shop. Yeah, I mean, I haven't bought some for a while now, but yeah, these are years old. In fact, I don't know where it is. When it comes up, I'll show you which I believe is the very first film. I can't believe how much I paid for it. And I'll show you if it comes up. But yeah, I don't pay £7 for a film nowadays. Right. Tremors 4 again. There's Michael Gross. Gross or Gross, the middle picture there, that's him with a moustache. He's been in all of them. Tremors 4, The Legend Begins, the prequel of the classic cult movie. There you go. Now, this is number 4. This is set back in Western times. This is the origin of where the graboids, these things, in case you didn't work that out. This is the origin movie to where it comes. So in Western times, you can imagine what a rough time, because this would be So if you were to watch them in chronological order, this would be the first one. If you were to watch them in sequence, I guess you'd be another. You'd watch this one because it's set in the Western. It's the very beginning, very first. Um, it is the very in the timeline. So really, you'd watch this one first because it's set in the Western. Next, you would watch Tremors 1 because that's the one that introduces Burt Ward and Kevin Bacon. They're just discovering the movie, the graboids in our time. They've been dormant for all these years, and then you would go. So you got 4, 1, and I think then you'd go 2, 3, and then 5. Yeah, that'd be it. So if you wanted to watch them, the timeline of progression of the from the very beginning through, you'd watch this one first, then number 1, then number 2, then number 3 and 5. But yeah, so they go back in time. So you can imagine they know nothing about the graboids. That they're just sort of working out as they go along. The technology in gunfire is pretty limited compared to the other movies because basically they're using 6-shooters and say Winchester rifles, really, and dynamite if they're lucky. But very good. It's quite a good film. It's of course in all the other movies you've got Michael Gross. He's the survivalist. He's the one spending all his money on MREs, ready for the apocalypse. He's spending his money on gunpowder, rifles, ammunition, gunpowder, cannon, fortified bunker, underground shelters, all that stuff. This is the origin of how his ancestors 100 years ago. This basically it's him playing his great 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 granddad. I guess I don't know how many greats are in there, but so I mean he is not a gun nut in this movie, but it shows the origin of how he got the idea of being a survivalist because of what he goes through in this movie. Quite good, It's a good, it's a good thing that they've, they went back in time in order. Well, they didn't go back in time. They showed the origin story. It's quite good. All right. Oh, okay. That's 2 hours. Already interesting cover image, indeed. I think. Let me see. Yeah, I've shown you 4 and I've shown you 5. There you go. So it pretty much. I'll double check with the other ones. Oh, actually, because I'm just thinking about the graboids coming up from below, like they do in 4 and 5. Oh, but I'm just looking at. Oh, actually, I've got number 3 here. Let me just. Yeah. It's got a sticker on the front there, but if you look at the, you see, there's that image again of the graboids coming up. So you've got 3, 4, and 5. Each of them show the graboids coming up from the underground. So what we need to do is find 1 and 2. They'll be in there somewhere. So we'll see if they do. It'd be an interesting. I never really sort of twigged before. I mean, I would have seen it, but I never really sort of registered that fact that the cover art shows the graboid. Now this one's number 3. This one is again Michael Gross. He's the only. That's the thing. He's been in all of them. I believe. This one is. I'm trying to think. Right, you got your first one. You got so the third one. This one, you've got a guy there in the picture. You got Gross. You got a Chinese-looking woman. She is the granddaughter of Chang. the guy that gave the names to the graboids, who the one who gets, when they have that problem with the refrigerator in the first movie, and it brings the graboid up for the ground in the shop, and it attacks Chang, the shopkeeper. That's his, I believe that's his granddaughter. And you got this other young fella here. He's come into the town, and he basically he starts up this little business where he's showing tourists around. Come on in, he's basically got this bullshit detector that detects graboids. It doesn't really, it just sort of bells and whistles and stuff. And he's making some money out of the tourists. He's got his mate hiding around the corner, blowing off some fire extinguishers, pretending the graboids are in the vicinity. And but anyway, but this is where the arse blasters come in, I believe, because this little Chinese woman on the back here, she's the one who invents that name. And these the arse blasters, where they can fly. Yeah, good, wholesome. Well, good family fun. It's you got monsters, you got some good comedy in there. You've got Michael Gross, who's always good as the Bert Gummer, the survivalist. Just good old fun, and of course the graboids are learning how to not get killed. When you kill one in some way, the rest of them will learn by this and not get taken in by the same gag. Like if you've got some dynamite strapped to a remote controlled toy, for example, you'll get one of them, but the others won't fall for the same trick. So each time they have to up their game, these people, in order to outwit the graboids. But very good. Anyway, I'll tell you what. I've done a little bit more than the last one. I don't know how many's there. Maybe 40 or so, I guess. Actually, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 in that stack times 2 stacks. What's that? 20, 34. 34 in that one. Okay, well, what I'll do, I'll call it a day. I'll give people, I don't want to go on for hours and hours, because you've got to sit through it all. And, so what I'll do it's 2 hours and 10 minutes almost. I'll call it a day there, give people time to catch up, and I'll do part 3 in a couple of days. I've still got loads more to do. It's still, the thing is, otherwise it's a long time for people just to but yeah, I mean, by all means, I hope people wrote a few ideas down there, because try to explain it as best I could. But some of them I felt like I didn't explain it, didn't sell it very well. But there's some very good movies there, yeah. But like I say, you can if you want to watch these on the Netflix, or go to CEX when the place opens again. There's some good ideas there. All right, let me see. Interesting cover image, or I missed the beginning. I'll go back and watch the remake. That's on War Ready. Yeah, go back and watch it. That way, if I keep it to about a couple of hours, that way people have got a chance to catch up. Because I've done part 1 of the film review. Then that was a couple of hours. Did a 4.5 hour live thing, ranting and raving about the world going to shit, and now doing a couple of hours doing a film review. I keep getting messages from my cookery channel coming up and blocking things. Let me see. Naz50, Naz0550, NHS doctor, back from 18-hour shift. You are very entertaining and relaxing. Thank you. What's that? What, you're a doctor, Naz? Are you an NHS doctor? Is that what you're? What do you 18-hour shifts? Yeah, mind you. Yeah, good. This is very entertaining. Well, thank you very much. I'll do what I do what I can with what I'm doing. What I can with what I got. That's a line, by the way, from Michael Gross in one of the, I think it was the second Tremors, talking about how he's killed all these. You know, he got jumped by 100 graboids, you know, climbing all over his truck, and he comes back and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just doing what I can with what I got." Anyway, I like to use that now and again. Mark is the man. Mark is the man of the people. Thank you already. Okay, what I'll do, I'll call that a day because I've got to walk around. My arse is aching. Been sitting down for 2 hours, and but like I say, yeah, I don't want to have this going on all night. Otherwise, you know, because you've got to go back and watch it from the beginning, and you know, a couple of hours are probably good for you know. Anyway, I'm waffling on. Thank you everybody for watching and taking part in the in discussions. Thank you again to Lee Merton for putting me on the was it Facebook? And the same, I mean, if anybody else wants to help in that regard, if you want to take any of my videos, put them onto Facebook, onto Twitter, onto any of those other channels that I have no idea about, it'll all be welcome. Any help in that regard, you know, to get the word out, because the more people who see any of my videos, a few of them might want to stick around, and that's going to benefit the channel, you know. And yeah, and yeah, although I should have said it at the beginning, usual thing, please let the adverts play. I don't. I only put the ones that go over. They don't stop my videos, which they shouldn't do. You know, just the overlaid ones. If you allow them to run, it helps fund the next cookery video. Anyway, thank you to everybody, and I'll leave it there. And good night.